Good day. This is another experiment. I just finished writing a journal. I haven't even titled it. And it's working through my personal stuff, what's current for me. I'm sure you have your own. But something I came to in the midst of it, I thought I would maybe turn on the video and see about sharing with you. Let's see if this is the right time for this. How would you like an energy clearance? What I noticed is that when I called for some assistance, you know, things have to get bad for us sometimes for us to call in reinforcements, call in the troops. And I noticed when I called for some assistance, what I got instead was interference. I got things pretending to be assisting and crossed wires and things. And so I went in to clear some of that, as much of that out as I could. And I came to a realization, to an understanding, what would the dark side want to prevent most of all, more than us being able to communicate with higher self, with light beings, with the family of light? That would be one of the absolutely most important things to them, as a part of separating us out, getting us into this particle state. It would be very important to cut us off from communion with light beings. And so let's look at that. Now let's multiply it by all of the incarnations and embodiments that we've had here or elsewhere. Might as well just throw them all in. And be aware, folks, that nobody's a goody two-shoes or a perfect light being here who's only worked on the side of the light forever and ever. If you've got that as your identity, that you've got some ego working there, because we've all tasted both sides. That's a part of our growth and development. You don't want lopsided growth. Believe it or not, the supposed dark side is necessary to balance. And so what is balance. There's a yin and the yang. And you notice on the Tai Chi wheel there's a bit of yang in the yin and a bit of yin in the yang. It's all balanced. It's all a oneness working together. So let's disabuse ourselves of any kind of false attitudes or ideas we have about our identity. And let's just be open and say, I don't know. I think that's the best way to go into anything. So we've got various incarnations, and we're on various dimensions across our incarnations. Even in this incarnation, we exist all the way up and down the levels of dimensions and densities. So I'm talking about our greater being here. Let's step up or out into our greater being as we look at this. Now, I'm not going to clear you. We don't need any hero worship here. We don't need any thinking that I can do something for you that you can't do for yourself. But we can go through it together. And we're starting just by looking a little bit at who and what we are, and maybe stepping up out of just identifying with the body, with the form there. Because if we're identified just with this physicality, then sure, we can do a clearing. We can do that, but it will be much less effective, because you may well have other things in your greater being there still interfering with you. And I'm not saying that we can just clear everything away in one fell swoop and live happily ever after either. We can do what we can do. I don't know, I think is the best attitude to most everything. And we follow heart's leading, heart's leaning, heart's guidance. And we just put one foot in front of the other without lots of expectations floating around, because our expectations can get in the way as well. Seldom are we able to expect the grandness, the marvelousness that can happen if we just get out of the way of it. Okay? So, as we step into our greater being, maybe this will lay down a template for you to go and to work with, because sometimes these calls that need to be made have to come forth with a certain intensity, and your heart will deliver that. But it would kind of blast out the mic here if I was to be doing that kind of thing. So what are we looking at? We're looking at, we know good and well we've been interfered with. We've been tampered with. That is a well freaking duh. All right. So it just goes beyond doubt and question that we have energetic implants galore. And let's do the sovereignty mantra. And I'll put it for you in the transcript. If you don't know it yet, I've mentioned it before, but it's simple and it's easy enough to memorize. I am a sovereign being, exercising free will as I ascend the spiral of spirit. I intend that the higher purpose be served and that the light prevail. I am a sovereign being, exercising free will as I ascend the spiral of spirit. I intend that the higher purpose be served and that the light prevail. I am a sovereign being, exercising free will as I ascend the spiral of spirit. I intend that the higher purpose be served and that the light prevail. There is a power in threes that you can take advantage of. All right, so we set our intent, and then it's easy enough to call in beings of light and say, clear everything away that doesn't agree 100% with that. Everything that's not native to me and my own energy, everything that's not from my higher self, I want it cleared out. I want it cleared out now. And then what you want to do, there's sunlight and then there's laser. And the laser obviously has more of a focused intensity. As we use our words, we focus the light, we focus the energy into an intensity so it has the activity of the laser. And so you say you want cleared away, and then you name specifically all blockages to communication of any kind whatsoever between me and my higher self, between me and the family of light, between me and true beings of light. I want cleared away all imposters, all beings within or without, all energies within or without, across time, space, dimensions, and densities, in all embodiments, in all incarnations, and for all light beings. You know, when you're finished making all of your calls and your heart has led you to multiply and expand and to focus and perfect them as much as possible, what I like to do at the end is expand it out unto all beings. If you can make the call for yourself, you can make it for everyone, because you are that. You have that authority. I am that. We have the authority of our oneness to expand and multiply the call so that great blessing and benefit is accomplished. There are light beings that are just hanging around waiting to be assigned to go do these things. And they love it when the call is multiplied and amplified that way, so that they too can render greater service. We all want to serve, just as you and I, our hearts have this intensity of the desire to serve. Well, why would it be any different for beings on other planes, higher planes and dimensions? They want to serve as well. But we are the authority for 3D. This is where we are incarnate. I mean, there's some good stuff with wearing one of these bodies around, and that is we get the say-so on what happens here. And so beings that would assist have to wait until the call is made. And the more specific the call, the better. The more intense can be the response from the light beings. Gee, I guess this is working out pretty well. You know when that flow is coming through you. You just know. So I took a few notes. I didn't put down all my prayers and calls that I was making, but there were, okay, there were a few conclusions. I have four of them. One is that we definitely have implants and interference in our various incarnations, you know, and we haven't just been here on Earth. We haven't just been in human bodies. Um, and then we have all the quote unquote time in between incarnations. So we have the wholeness of our being to work with here. And we know that as we are, like I said at the beginning, what is the thing that the dark side would fear the most? Well, that's all of us linking up with higher self, with the family of light, with heavenly reinforcements. I mean, that's the thing that they have perhaps worked the hardest to prevent. And so they're not stupid and they're not helpless. And so we just have to assume that there are things in the way of us communing with light and go after them. We have that right. Okay? The second thing I wrote down is that you want to clear yourself across all time and space, all dimensions, all densities, all incarnations. We have to, in order to be most effective, we don't have to do squat, folks, but in order to be most effective and get the most bang for your buck in your prayer life, in your invocations, in your whatever you want to call it, expand out into the greatest, your greater being, you know, get above and beyond just thinking you're the one body there. That limits you. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It just limits you. That's all. And it's time to step up into our greater being and to manifest that, to be empowered in that and as that. So you make your calls, your prayers across time, space, dimensions, and densities is the way I've put it. Now, you put these things together your way. You have a heart, you have a path, you have guidance and direction you've been given. And trust me, I've got stuff that I can learn from you. So we need to give authority and retain the integrity of being in heart and trusting there. So time, space, dimensions, and densities. All right. Now, here's another one. This one will trip you up if you're not aware of it. We deserve it. A lot of the implants and tampering that we've received is to make us feel helpless, hopeless, apathetic, not deserving, etc., etc., etc. That is something that you have to, as it were, take a spiritual sword to. You have to recognize self and not self. That is not self. That is not light. That is no part of light. And so you therefore have the authority to clear it away. Any sense of non-deservingness, and you know, this is where a lot of the self-criticism and that kind of thing comes from. This is not native to your soul. This was implanted in you. This was you were manipulated into this kind of thing. Well, there's nothing says that you can't step up into your greater being and take the sword, which is the sacred word, sword, S word, take the sword of your divinity and cut that stuff away. You know, just clear it out. Call in the angel bands, call in whomever, Archangel Michael, whatever is your way of doing. I call in source, I call in higher self, I call in family of light right now. But that's changing too, you know. So you do what's right for you on your path. I'm just, like I say, it's a template. You can adjust it as you will. Do adjust it. As you adjust it for yourself, you're more empowered. If you follow somebody else's way blindly and slavishly, you're not quite as empowered as you could be. Again, there's nothing wrong with that because even as little children, we all need an example set. We see something, we're empowered when we see it. Vision is tremendously empowering. And there's nothing wrong with starting out, for instance, just with what I have written down here. But then as you go on, you will be motivated, you will be inspired, and you'll find the words on it changing, and you'll find the intent shifting. And then you'll be shifting into something that has more integrity for you and your path or your specific needs. Okay? You have your own guidance. So the third one is we deserve it. And the fourth one, this one's important too, and is unfortunately often overlooked to our great detriment. The fourth one, we must claim it. We can't just think we deserve something. We can't just think, oh, God should do something about this. That's not effective. That doesn't put it together. That's the alchemy is incomplete until we claim it. And so to have a certain knowing and then to use free will to assert the claim. Do you see how critical and how important this step in this stage is? And how across a lot of religions too, but just across a lot of people, the claim is not made, the call is not made, the demand on light and life it goes unspoken. Well, that is your sword. The sacred word is the word of prayer, is the word to invoke light, and it's necessary. That's all. It's necessary if you want to have the greatest possible effect. So this is use of free will. And so you can stand empowered in light and have a huge sword of light, and you can make these calls, and you can cut away. You can even use the time quilt. A number of journals back, I spoke of our quilt of embodiments, where each lifetime is like one square in the quilt, and sometimes it helps to have a concept to work with and around, because you can more effectively accomplish what you want if you can visualize it. And so you can take this quilt and just, cut away any kind of darkness, or you envision it how you will. But that's one way to access the various embodiments, the incarnations. Now you're going to find, especially if you have, as your inner vision develops, you're going to see where things are working against you from right within. It seems like they're within your body or your being or your mind or something. They're not. Okay, they're implanted there, but that's not you. That's not native to you. So you can make the claim, anything that is not of the 100% purity of my soul and my energy be now removed. Anything that's tampering with the purity of my soul and my energy be removed. Anything placed within my aura, force field, or energetic being across time, space, dimensions, and densities that is put there with the intent to tamper with my ability to commune with light and with inner guidance and with higher self, be now removed. And you can even ask that it be sent back to those who inserted it, who put it there, who sent it forth, who did that. You can just ask that it be reflected back onto them. And, as long as at the end of your prayers, and, I'm going to put a number 5 in here, because it's rather important. If you want to feel free to totally go with the flow of your prayers and just say what comes to you, you can do that if you remember at the end of your prayers to say, let it all be in accordance with the will. I do it this way. Let it all be in accord with the will, the wisdom, and the love of God, of higher self, of source, of whatever, however you want to make the call. But by submitting your will to the divine will, that enables you to maybe reach out and say something that you're not quite sure it's totally legal or right or the best thing, or what. You can still say it, and then at the end you can say, now let it be adjusted according to God's will, and let nothing but the highest and best be the result. And you can go to this transcript, or there's a number of other transcripts. If you go to my page where all my videos are and put in the search area mantra, or just the word sovereignty, SOVEREIGNTY, like a sovereign. You're a sovereign being. The mantra for sovereignty, I try to put that in the tags when I've placed it, or sometimes I'll be speaking about it. But anyway, it's very effective. So now that I've shared all those things with you, those 5 points. Number 1, we do have implants and interference. It's a well duh. Number 2, when you make your calls, make it across all time, space, dimensions, and densities, or however you want to do that so that you include your wider self. 3, deservingness. We deserve it, and we want to clear away everything that says we don't, because that's part of the energetic manipulation we have received to feel that we don't deserve. 4, we have to claim it. We have to stake our claim. We have to use the sword of the sacred word. And 5, adjust everything according to God's will. Okay, I think that's really effective. And I'm going to say the mantra for sovereignty one more time and hear it in heart with this broader understanding. I am a sovereign being, exercising free will as I ascend the spiral of spirit. I intend that the higher purpose be served and that the light prevail. And that is very powerful. You can say it anytime, anywhen, any place. When I'm making my videos these days, as I push the thing to upload it, I make the mantra for sovereignty, and I ask that blessing and only blessing be that which is, emanated and received from any of the work that I put out there. And so, if you have a sensitive email that you're sending, or a letter, you can say this mantra for sovereignty, and you're just stating that with whatever it is that you're working with there, you only want the highest and best to be that which is the result. And so you empower heavenly assistance that way as well, because you've stated your intent. And as a 3D being, you have the right and the authority in 3D to do this. The light beings would dearly love to come in and do so much more for us, but they don't have the right. There's the non-interference thing. And so if we want assistance as 3D beings, part of being a sovereign being is knowing that you've got to make the call for assistance. We cannot blame God for that which we allow to happen without calling in help. Now, help won't always come as you think it should, or the outcome won't always be the way that you think it ought to be, and so on and so forth. But we have to have a certain sense of surrender and be willing to say, I don't know. I don't know what's the best outcome here or there or over there. I really don't know. But I can make the call for the finest and the best, for the higher purpose, and for the light to prevail. And do my part, and sometimes your part is just making the call. Even if somebody's 100% disabled, they can be an absolute warrior for light by use of the sword, the sacred word. We are energetic beings, and what we're doing here is we're working with energy. And you should be able to feel, even right now, more of the chi flowing through you. Just by what we've done here, just by what you've seen and you've visualized, there should be some energetic clearing. So I'll let you go now so you can get to work. Love and light. See you in heart. To balance. And so what is balance? There's a yin and the yang. And you notice on the Tai Chi wheel there's a bit of yang in the yin and a bit of yin in the yang. It's all balanced. It's all a oneness working together. So let's disabuse ourselves of any kind of false attitudes or ideas we have about our identity. And let's just be open and say, I don't know. I think that's the best way to go into anything. So we've got various incarnations, and we're on various dimensions across the video, and see about sharing with you. Let's see if this is the right time for this. How would you like an energy clearance? What I noticed is that when I called for some assistance. You know, things have to get bad for us sometimes for us to call in reinforcements, call in the troops. And I noticed when I called for some assistance, what I got instead was interference. Um, I got things pretending to be assisting and crossed wires. Good day. This is another experiment. I just finished writing a journal. I haven't even titled it. And it's working through my personal stuff, what's current for me. I'm sure you have your own. But something I came to in the midst of it, I thought I would maybe turn on the, and so let's look at that. Now let's multiply it by all of the incarnations and embodiments that we've had here or elsewhere. Might as well just throw them all in. And be aware, folks, that nobody's a goody two-shoes or a perfect light being here who's only worked on the side of the light forever and ever. If you've got that as your identity, that you've got some ego working there, because we've all tasted both sides. That's a part of our growth and development. You don't want lopsided growth. Believe it or not, the supposed dark side is necessary in things. And so I went in to clear some of that, as much of that out as I could. And I came to a realization, to an understanding. What would the dark side want to prevent most of all, more than us being able to communicate with higher self, with light beings, with the family of light? That would be one of the absolutely most important things to them, as a part of separating us out, getting us into this particle state. It would be very important to cut us off from communion with light beings.